Thanks everyone for sticking with us. I think we've had two great panels. We're going to finish off here with about 20 minutes of discussion from recruiters themselves, talking about what some of the internships, jobs, careers in the industry are, some tips perhaps for getting it. So again, the more questions, the better. But to kick this off, let me again just sort of turn it over to the panelists to walk down the road, talk a little bit about themselves and their firms and what they do.
So I'm Amy Reynolds. I'm from PNC Financial Services, and we have three segments of our real estate. We have a multifamily arm that Daniel Cunningham on the first panel spoke about pretty inclusively. We also have a real estate banking, which is balance sheet, kind of that traditional commercial loan underwriting. And then we have Midland Loan Services. It's located in Kansas City, and that's where I sit. Came all the way here to see you, so ask really good questions. We have about 1,000 employees. Are located in 35 cities. Our talent acquisition model is to hire in at a base level of experience and develop our talent from within. And to that end, it's definitely a lattice and a ladder within PNC Real Estate. We invest heavily, kind of what Daniel indicated, in developing our internal talent. We have several segments of internships. We have our traditional summer internships where you can specialize in any one of 10 areas of our corporate and institutional bank. We also have a one-year development program. We try really hard to invest in high potential undergrads, and then we have another level of development program for our master's degree students that come out. I'll stop there and pass it on. I have a lot to say.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kirsten Fox. I'm Assistant Vice President of Human Resources at Walker & Dunlop. I've come to this panel with about 10 years of experience in recruiting. I'm a little bit more light on experience when it comes to real estate finance, as I've only been in the industry a short time. But I work out of our Bethesda office. Walker & Dunlop has about 400 employees and 20 offices. We started out about 70 years ago with the Walker family starting the company, and through acquisitions and what have you, where we've now grown quite a bit, but I'll be happy to talk more about internships and opportunities and so forth. Questions?
Hi, I'm Mike Wisniewski, Head of Human Resources for Arbor Commercial Mortgage. Arbor Commercial Mortgage is a privately held lender, been in business for about 30 years. We also have a publicly traded REIT. We have about 300 employees on the commercial division. We also have a residential group, which is about another 250 people, mostly on the capital markets and servicing side. We do not have formal internship programs per se. However, in our main offices, two in New York, one in Uniondale, Long Island, Boston, Buffalo, we have a semi-formal internship program, or we call it like a 2-year track, where we anticipate bringing individuals in, mostly at the undergraduate level. People who've been very successful with us have had their undergraduate degree and have since gone on to get their MBA while in school. It's just proved to be very beneficial for us.
That's great. And again, any questions, we can dive in anytime. You each sort of mentioned some of the ways people get into the industry, and some of the previous panelists did too. Some seem more formal, some less formal. Do you want to sort of maybe walk down the line and talk about some of the ways you've had people come into your organization and progress through it? Okay. You want to?
Sure, I'll start. I would say two ways that are really important are first through referrals. So I know in each of the panels we've heard tonight about networking. That's really important. The students who are sitting beside you, alumni contacts. I'm even surprised at how creative people are these days with making contacts. For example, there's one person's resume that I've received 2 different ways through different people at the company, and it's just a matter of how creative they've been to actually do research on the company, find out the person they need to get in contact with, make contact with that person, or find out someone who knows that person that can get them in contact with that person. So I'd say networking is number 1. I would say number 2 is through the internships like Amy mentioned. At Walker & Dunlop, we hire about 15 interns every summer. Of course, doing a great job in those internships can lead to staying on throughout the school year, and also can lead to full-time positions. So seeking out those internships are very important. I would say, sending out your resume, even if you don't know if there's an opportunity, can still lead to a position. You may get a no initially if there's no formal program or if the program is full or what have you. But I know from my experience, I've hired folks that I heard from a year ago, and those are the people that send in their resume, and like I said, it might be a no initially, but I hear from them every other month, and so when it's time for me to hire someone, that's the person that's at the top of my mind. So I would say that's really important to be persistent as well.
So it used to be that, and Clarence gave you great advice on the last panel when he talked about LinkedIn. It used to be that human resources was like this personnel department, and it was like a locked door at the end of the hallway, and you'd like mail your resume or send your resume in there, and it was like a black hole. Like, who knows what happened there? I sent my resume in and a year passed. But we're super transparent now. We're all on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. We want to talk to you. We want to start a conversation with you while you're pursuing your education, like she said, and to not leverage that, we can be found on Facebook, LinkedIn, Spokio, everything. To not leverage that, the people that do are getting a giant head start. The race started and they've lapped you a couple times, and then you show up with your resume and it's like, yeah, well, I've already been talking to John Doe and Mary for like 3 years. So the time to connect with us is early and often. I get little updates from some people that are already in college, like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I finished my sophomore year, everything's going great, I'm still thinking this is a great place to work. And it's 4 lines, but I remember their name. So when they approach graduation, they get a note from me, hey, I know you're graduating this year, let's talk. So definitely leverage social media.
I'd say be careful with the social media as well. I mean, the social media, people on our side of the desk realize that, and with creativity today, especially with the internet, anyone can write a great resume. Really can. I mean, just a matter, talk to a bunch of your friends. You have to be very comfortable with what's on the resume. Yes, you want to embellish. Yes, you want to highlight certain things about your qualities. You want to try to write what you think the company is looking for. But be very, very comfortable on that, because ultimately that resume, that introduction, will get you the introduction. But it's going to be the face-to-face interview with folks like us who are the gatekeepers, will make you the introduction to the managers. So be very, very careful over what you're putting on your resume, the thing you want to do is set yourself apart from the competition, and that can be very small things. An internship where maybe you're not making any money, something that's going to bring you a little bit of additional recognition to folks on our side. Keeping in contact is wonderful. Don't harass, don't call every other week, find out what's happening with my resume. It's a balance there. You want to be aggressive. We look for people who are, everybody in this room is very smart. Everybody in this industry is very smart. There's so much money in this industry, it brings the best talent. So if you want to set yourself apart, we look for people who are very confident, but also a little bit humble. So I guess it's a balancing act. You want to maintain that relationship. Another thing too about the networking, a great way of, if you're a little bit uncomfortable about trying to develop a network, people hate to do favors but love to give advice. So if you're meeting someone at a situation like this, or at a cocktail party, or at a restaurant, and you meet John or Mike, and you ask them, how did you get in the industry? What's your background? Tell me about yourself. And then ask them for some advice. People love to give advice. They don't like to do favors. And they say, how can I help you? Well, I'm looking for some tips on getting industry. Any suggestions you have for me? If people are open to do that, they will. And if they're going to say, no, I really don't have any suggestions for you, but I wish you the best of luck. But most likely they will give you some tips. And that's a wonderful introduction of capitalizing on those tips and that advice. What I did hear from every one of the panel just before us, which was refreshing, every one of the successful people who are in this panel before us, they kept on saying about going the extra mile, working hard, paying your dues. That's still something we look for and managers look for on our side of the business, and that goes a long way. You go to the employer, what can I do to help you make your business successful? If you go in with that type of a positive attitude, it's going to bring you a lot of success, a lot of positive recognition.
One more thing that you just brought to mind for me, I just want to add to be open to opportunities. There was a lot of conversation tonight about different areas that you could go into, but there might come a time when that area might not be open for you, but there's an alternate opportunity there. What I would say is try to to be open, as I said, because Walker and Dunlop, and I'm sure that the other companies do as well, you can start out in one area, but what you want to do is to build your reputation in the company and with your supervisors and among management, so that when there is an opportunity in another area, then you will be looked upon favorably to perhaps move into that initial position that you were interested in. So I've seen, countless times where that's happened, and it does nothing but help you, because it's the more you're going to learn about the lending process and about the company, it's going to better prepare you for that position.
Any questions? Yeah.
I find when applying for jobs that employers or recruiters always ask what sort of compensation requirements, how would you suggest someone answer that question? It's something that I tend to not want to answer. What's the strategic way to go about that?
I'll go first. I'd like to say there's one of two ways I would approach it, and what I appreciate most from candidates. The first is to look at your current compensation. So look at your current compensation, because if you give a range, they're always going to follow that question up with how much are you currently making. So base it on your current compensation. Also do your research on that position. Find out what that position should be paying, and then base the range on that range. And I would, make phone calls and just, work with your network just to see what the appropriate range is. I've heard many, many times from candidates just in doing more of career coaching, is it better to shoot higher? Is it better to shoot lower? I always say go for on target, because if you're higher, you might not get in for the interview. And then if you're lower, of course, you might sell yourself short. So I would go for being right on if you can. And the best way to do that is current compensation and to find out as much as you can about what the position should pay based on the market.
I would just add to this, I'd say I agree with what you're saying. One of the things that I like to know from anyone coming in, whether they're an executive or whether a junior level person, really what are your expectations? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And so that, I said before, if someone's coming in and they're looking to make $300,000, but the position I have in front of me is paying $95,000, well, the conversation's going to end because we're so far apart. So we know you're open and flexible. And that's one thing you always want to say. You're always open and flexible, but you do want to have an answer. If you don't give an answer, to me, it sounds like you're just being evasive, and that's I want some sort of dialogue. There's no specific formula for success here. I think it's just a matter of being truthful and doing your homework. Do your homework.
And as Amy said, in human resources, especially in present day, we're really transparent. So we're not out to get you in talking about compensation and figure out how low of a salary we can offer. It's really about, we want to, if we get to the point where we want to extend an offer, it's about making an offer that's going to make you happy and make you want to join the company. So it's something we want to work with you on. So, try not to think of it as a trick question.
So someone quoted Jerry Maguire, and totally it's like that help me help you thing, especially in recruiting. So here's insight that probably Daniel Cunningham, I'm glad he left because he would not be happy. So when you get to the money conversation and you're at the offer, so recruiting works like a funnel, right? So maybe I get 300 resumes for an underwriter or an analyst position. So maybe 15 of those are pretty spectacular. They're people that are like you. So I'm going to make those phone calls. Of those 15, I'm going to pass like 3 to 5 onto my hiring manager and say, you know what, this is the person you need to talk to. Of those 3 to 5, we're only going to call a couple more and have a more in-depth interview. And that's the time when I feel like a lot of, especially recent graduates, kind of drop the ball in negotiation. Like they started strong, but now it's like they want it. And just as far as insight, here's kind of what's driving this whole event. Our baby boomers are leaving the real estate industry, and we need you guys. There's a reason why the guy at RedCap is having great success, aside from his performance, is the fact that he's moving up quickly because we need real estate talent. And a couple of years ago, it feels like everyone stopped studying real estate. So now we're going out to schools and we're like, you have a finance degree? Tell me about your real estate classes. Have you looked at rent rolls? Tell me about your summer internship. You've been doing loan docs. When I say mezzanine loan, do you just go completely blank? And that's our fear, is that we're seeing this drop off. So what I'm saying is, when you show up to negotiate, you have more power than you think. You've already funneled down, so you're in probably the top 3 to 5 candidates. We want you. And we really, what kills me is when I offer someone, the pay is 85, and they just lose their minds because they're so excited to hear the number 85. They're like, great, I'll take the job. And I'm like, really? Because I had 93 on the table. And you just walked away from all of that because you lost your mind. You got so excited. So, I mean, part of being a savvy real estate professional is going to be, oh, 85? Well, I was really hoping for 92. And I may very well say, okay, I'll call you tomorrow, because I know I've got 93. So always make sure that you get to know, and best and final, that's what you want to hear, is best and final. Or I've gone back to our senior vice president, and this is it. Maybe we can do a 5K sign-on. That's $5,000. Take that. So really, to not lose your mind when you get to the finish line, and it's been 3 months since graduation, and you really want the job, will really set you apart from a lot of other people. We want you guys to be negotiators. We're going to have you out negotiating deals for our bank. Don't be afraid. A lot of people get really gun shy. Oh my God, if I push back, I'll lose this job. They'll just say, forget it. We never do that. Do you ever, I mean, we never say, well, forget it, click. We're always like, well, think about it over the weekend. And that's how you can kind of tell. You've pushed as far as you can go. We don't have any money left. This is it. This is the offer. But make sure you get there where we're just like folding. This is it. Think about it overnight. Talk to your girlfriend. See if she's willing to relocate. When you get there, you know this is the time to say yes.
At the same time, you have to be realistic. We had a situation yesterday, as a matter of fact, where my VP of recruitment was working on a position for a senior analyst in one of our special asset management groups. And we had a candidate come in, and it was a person who had about 3 years experience, and we asked him specifically, again on the application, what are you making, what are you looking for? Very, very specifically. And we look at that information. Where are our expectations? It's the best of both worlds. If what your needs are meet with the firm, and it's wonderful. And hopefully you get some, a good basis for success. Well, whatever the number was on the application, and we went back to the hiring manager. We went through the process, and we went through this whole process, and we said, fine, this is what the person was asking for. We went to the manager. He said, this is what they're asking for, and base and bonus. They said, okay, give them the deal. Make the offer. They came back. They said, okay, can I think about it? Of course, think about it overnight. And the next day, they came back with asking for $20,000 more. I said, well, where are you coming from with that? You just, the number you asked for was this. We gave you what you're asking for. Where you're coming from now? I knew what the answer was going to be before we went back to the hiring manager. He said, forget it. We're done. And the deal was done. So you really have to understand, be realistic, of where you're coming from. If you cross that line in negotiations, the salesperson over here, once you cross that line, it's difficult to come back. So there's a balancing act. So have a dialogue. Have a dialogue with the individuals. Have a conversation with them. We want you to be successful. It's wonderful. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've been around Wall Street for about 28 of those years, and in this commercial real estate business for 10. It's wonderful to be able to go back and talk about our internal success stories, the people that we see we help bring in, and you see them in jobs that didn't even think about before. So, and at the same time too, is we have an obligation to our firm to kind of fit the culture. And culture is very important to you, it's very important to us, because a firm like Arbor is a 300-person entrepreneurial company. It's very different than a PNC bank. There are pluses and minuses of both. So it's very important to us when we hire somebody that we think you're going to fit the culture. And ask about the culture, expectations. What can I do? What can I do? What is a good question to ask us is, what kind of a person is successful at your firm? Tell me. What are some of the success stories? And some things you might like to hear, and some things you might not like to hear. Those are good things. Those are good lead-ins, and so hopefully you are going to be successful at one of our firms.
And now, Mike, Kirsten, and Amy are all going to be upstairs at the reception job fair. Want to make sure you've got plenty of time to get up there to meet with folks, talk to not only them but the other companies that are going to be up there represented. We'll also have a couple of drawings. We've got a couple of Surface tablets and Google Chromebooks that we'll have drawings for up there for those who are in attendance and registered. So actually, if you just wander up the stairs too. But first, let's have a hand for this panel.